Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite, guys. Allianz, we don't tend to get out in front of audiences a lot. We're working on that. We're quite an insular company, so I thought I would just give a really quick view of Allianz globally. We're an enormous company. Some top-line numbers there. We've 122 billion in premium. We've 1.4 trillion under management globally. 140,000 staff in 70 countries. 87 million customers. Primarily in property and casualty, which is your general lines insurance. We've also a lot of health insurance and asset management. The company Brand Finance Global have said lately that Allianz is the most valuable insurance brand globally. And to the Irish audience, maybe that's a little bit unusual, but that's because we sell typically through brokers, intermediaries, banks, and so on. But we also have a large direct division, and that's what I'll be talking mainly about. Locally, Allianz Ireland does 2 billion in premium in Ireland. We've got a couple of thousand staff. But in the general insurance piece in Ireland, we've 600 staff. And the rest of it is actually a very large health insurance company that we have here. But we don't sell into the Irish market, we sell it globally. It's an enormous company out in Park West. So big contributors to the Irish economy. So what I'm going to do is talk about how we structure our marketing environment to drive leads and drive our consumer leads into Allianz Insurance. It's all about quotes and how we drive quotes, how we gather quotes, and what we do with the quotes. And the first place we start, and we need to start talking about more, is content marketing. And content marketing is really, really important to us. It's about changing the message around insurance companies. Insurance companies have a difficult reputation. I mean, when you think about it, you know, we couldn't get to work today if it wasn't for insurance. Employers couldn't hire staff safely without employers' liability insurance. But we're not looked at like that. We're not looked at as the companies that enable society to actually transact safely, because we carry the risk. And the risk is shared. And that's the purpose of insurance. It's a very important message that we get out, but we don't. Insurance companies traditionally don't share what it is that's important about insurance companies. And we're trying to change that dynamic. We want to look at it now differently in the future. And we want to do that through content marketing. Allianz wants to be seen as an expert in its area, an expert in insurance, an expert in asset management, an expert in life insurance. So when putting together your content planning, you've got to say, well, look, what is the purpose? We want to position the brand. We want to deliver an understanding of the products, because a lot of people don't understand the products. There's a lot of small print. Our home insurance policy document has 47 pages in it. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult stuff. There's a lot of small print. And that's something, as an industry, we've got to work on. Search engine optimization, it's critical to us. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. PR, the industry has a PR problem. We've very large sponsorships. We do a lot of work, Allianz Leagues, we've global sponsorships, Paralympics and so on. And we want to get that message out. And of course, we have our corporate social responsibility. We work with a lot of charities and so on that we need to talk about. The enablers for that are blog, primarily. Our website obviously has a huge amount of information on it. YouTube has a lot of information on it. And we have, to deliver that, we've got a very substantial e-zine list that we've gathered over many, many years. We've been building it since 2000. And we have the social media obviously helps to push that out as well. The content mix is really important. If we send out, you know, boring insurance content all the time, who's going to be interested in that? You've got to have a nice mix between, you know, the content around our sports, competitions, the CSR, you know, obviously our products, product covers, benefits, and we want to put some sales messages out there too, obviously. But And it's really interesting because you think that you'd send out a nice article about our engagement with the Alzheimer's Society Association, we get 3 clicks. But we send out something on windscreen cover and we get 2,000 clicks. And you'd say, God, you know, is anybody really interested in windscreen cover? But they are. But you know what, they should be. We're an insurance company. These things matter. So it's surprising how it goes. Quick case study on social media, because it's not a simple area. Somebody else said it earlier, you know, you can do a lot on social media and win nothing. We sponsor Saracens Rugby in the UK. They were over here playing Munster in the Aviva in the semi-final of the Heineken Cup last year. We put out a post, win 2 tickets. And we pushed it out a couple of times, but we didn't put any money behind it. We just had the 2 tickets, popped it out quickly. Horse show, 10 sets of 2 tickets for the horse show. And then the GAA, 2 tickets for the All-Ireland final. And the difference in how many people we reached on the island of Ireland is staggering. 90,000 people for rugby. Now, I thought that was a fairly big match. I thought that would have had a much better reach. The horse show, look at that, 250,000. Hands down winner there, the good old GAA. It just gets a staggering reach. How many quotes and leads generated? You know, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Would I do it again? Of course you would. Why? They cost you a couple of £100. There's no cost to them. They're fantastic competitions to get you reach. But you don't do social for sales. You just do not do it. That's just one example. So you've got all this content. You've created this content. You've got YouTube full of content. You've got content for... But if you can't be found, if when somebody searches for a string of terms, no matter how diverse or unusual relative to your products, if they can't find you, what's the point? Because this is free traffic. And free traffic is really valuable, of course. So we have experts working in the business who spend all their time working on anchor text and the site architecture, title tags, meta descriptions, canonical tags, featured snippets, making sure that we manage our duplicate content. You could have 2 or 3 different sides of the company putting out the same content 2 or 3 different ways, using it in different environments. You've got to be very careful not to do that. You can't have any errors on your site. Google doesn't like it. Page load speed is critical. We never stop working on load speed. Bounce rate, click-through rate. All of these things that the spiders from Google are looking at and they're trying to interpret and can hurt your engine. We're trying to achieve a presence on 176 different core search terms. And you know, that's just the start. But that's where our traffic comes, that's where an enormous, about a third of our traffic comes from. We got to be performing there. We use products like Moz, Right, Search Metrics to help us measure and benchmark ourselves against our peers so that we understand how good we are relative to the market and where we have opportunities to further and further improve our platform to make sure that we can be found. A really important area. So you've got your content and you're now findable. But you've got to support that. We're too big a business to just rely on that. We've got to buy media. There's endless options. Yeah, you can buy the search engine marketing, you can buy the clicks on Google. It's highly targeted. The Google suite of products and most of the digital platforms let you target exactly who you want, what type of profile, and it allows you to do the retargeting that we were talking about earlier and the following around. And when that's done badly, my wife bought a Columbia jacket the other day and she bought it, but they're still following us around. And that's stupid. They should be trying to sell me something else, not the coat that I actually bought. So it's hard to get all of these things right, but it is possible to get that right. Columbia should be trying to sell me something else, you know, a pair of boots or something. Google, we're using the Google Analytics platform. It's their premium platform. It's a brilliant product. If you're using YouTube, if you're using the display network, and if you're using the AdWords network, it ties it all together, and it gives you a really strong view of what's performing. YouTube not only helps to overall deliver the Your presence, because you're able to drop out video, you can drop out video in a storytelling way. You know, drop out video 1, video 2, video 3. You can sequence your delivery. You can time it. You can put a limit on it. And I think some of our, you know, it's an area we want to explore more and more of. But you can also run brand lift surveys to say, what impact has that had on your brand? They run control groups for you. And they say, look, if you saw the ad, how well did they know your brand? If they didn't see the ad, how well did they know your brand? Run the campaign and benchmark afterwards and understand the impact. It's a great product from Google. Helps you understand the effectiveness. Google also help in terms of, you know, passing information over. It's called the GCL ID, but to cut a long story short, they can help you understand if their advertising created sales onto your telephone base rather than digitally. So now you're understanding some more of the linkages between your digital advertising, where there wasn't necessarily a lead gathered or a quote given online, but it came in the call centre. There's now linkages possible to help you understand a bit more of that view. Paid social, yeah, you can buy media from the Facebook and Twitter and so on, and you're able to push that out with all of your various advertising messages. It's not terribly productive, but you get such reach for small money, and you have to balance these things up and try and understand what's the right mix. So traditional hasn't gone away. It's really, really important. TV, press, radio. It's really interesting in Northern Ireland, for instance. You know, it's quite a different market to the south. You wouldn't think it. We're on the one island. Radio works really well up there. So there's lots of different dynamics between different markets. Sponsorships are important. You've got to do it. I mean, if we say, well, how many sales, how many leads could I absolutely attribute to the Allianz leagues? God, that's such a difficult question. But look, at the end of the day, it's delivering your base, which is delivering your core brand, which is delivering a lot of search traffic into the business. Sky have a really interesting product now where if you are using Experian Mosaic and you've segmented your client base and you know who you like and who you don't, you are able to ask them to just provide media to those segments, TV. It's a really great product to make sure that you're targeting exactly who you want. Costs a little bit more, of course, but if you're getting exactly who you want at the time you want to get them, that's money well spent. Of course, you've got your players, and the nice thing about players is that it's compulsory to watch the ad to the end, which is always good for the advertiser. But we're working on trying to shorten our ads, really get them down, get a really short, concise ad straight over, and make them a bit more entertaining, which is not in Allianz's culture, but we're trying to change. As you can see by the imagery that we're beginning to use in our, it's a change in our style and in our look and our feel. So you got the leads, you've paid for them, you've won them over free search, you've won hearts and minds on content, and there is some loyalty to the brand. So what do you do with the leads? We sell 18 products between the north and the south online. They're coming in, you know, there's quotes, there's for all the different products from all the different segments. And of course, you got to apply a treatment strategy to each one, which is a lot of work. You have to do it every day. You need to mine your data. You need to refine what you've got in there. You've got to segment it and prioritize it and decide what you're going to do with it and what treatment strategy do you apply to what person. What way do these people want to be contacted with? Blend it with your contact center data. All of that quote data, you need to manage it. And of course, the permissions and so on in terms of direct marketing. Then personalize that message back as best we can. Age, gender, car, whatever it might be. And there's lots of ways of pushing outbound then to try and attract that consumer back into us. Email, SMS, letter, outbound call. During that quote lead session, we might trap that email address, add them to our easy list and keep talking to them. And of course, we've got to mine that asset then, that data asset for the following year to reuse it. We know the renewal date, we know the information. Why wouldn't we proactively contact the customers that we're interested in and go at it again the following year? We do some outbound calling, not a huge amount. Really, we try and use email, SMS and letter, depending on the segment we're talking to. So you've done all that. You've done all your content, you've done all your search, you've done all your paid advertising, you have nurtured all your leads the best way possible. We undertake an econometrics exercise annually. We gather all of that data. We say, look, here's every media activity we undertook every day for the entire year. We look at all. We look at every click on a per minute basis. We look at every call into us on a per minute basis. And then we look at what was going on nationally. Was there, a major weather event like there was last week? We're still counting the cost. Was there a sporting event on, a World Cup, or Easter keeps moving around the place. So what bearing does that have? So we look at all those seasonal factors. We look at, was there any major spender? Maybe there was another competitor in the market spending an awful lot of money at a particular time. Maybe there was another brand altogether that started spending a lot of money on television or whatever and made it unaffordable, where we were looking to spend money at that time, so we shifted money to another time of the year. So we look at all that. And we try and attribute credit for the sales back. And we then optimize our budget for the following year. And we try and say, look, should we move more money to digital? Are we spending the right amount in TV? Do we need to put a bit more into radio? And we try and rebalance all of those efforts, still allowing for the fact that social media isn't terribly productive, but we can see where we had a lot of campaigning going on. Well, hang on, there was something going on there, but we can't attribute it precisely, but we know there was something. So we try and take account of all of that. And it's a very significant modelling exercise. And then we decide the next year's budget, and we do it again and again and again. And we've been at this for several years. It never stops. And we think we're always getting closer and closer and closer to the Holy Grail. And I think the Sky product is going to help us do that even more next year. This is the graphic around, attribution. Here's the guy, he's watching TV, sees the shoes. He's on the laptop, sees another ad for the shoes. Here's it on the radio. Eventually buys it on the mobile while out with the dog. And the marketing department says, let's spend all our money on mobile. Attribution is critical. Because, what actually drove that sale? Where do you attribute the credit? Do you split the credit? Do you give a little bit to TV, a little bit to laptop, or do you go on last click basis, or what do you do? And a huge fundamental flaws sometimes, and particularly senior management has to be said, have a tendency to veer over to last click. But it's really important to get the media mix right all across your communications channels. It's easy. No, it's not. Loads of other stuff going on that make it nice and difficult. You've got Google continually releasing new algorithms, which cause problems for your search strategy. Panda and Penguin, they call them interesting names. Devices change, operating systems change, which impact your e-commerce channels. Apple are doing interesting stuff now. They're beginning to withdraw cookies from the devices, which tells me they're probably going to start selling advertising directly. Will that get over the ad blockers problem? So let's just see what they do there, but it's going to be really interesting. Security is a huge issue, particularly, obviously we're gathering a lot of very personal information. We've got to be very careful about how we manage it and secure it. Customer expectations, touched on it earlier. People want this absolutely blindingly great experience all the time. And, the likes of insurance companies are having to try and match that expectation. It's difficult. We want a lot of data. The more data we get, the better we can price, the more accurately we can price. But then you're hurting your funnel. So it's a balancing act. GDPR, this whole opt-in next year, it's going to be very challenging for everybody who's involved in lead capturing. And I see it's FTI have a lot of focus on that. Ad blockers, future social media. Is Twitter going to survive? Facebook, central bank issued a document lately looking for opinion on social media and the impact of it in the insurance industry and all that. And in their own guidance notes, they were saying how how dangerous it was that insurance companies could be misleading customers on social media. But I mean, if we're not advertising and present on social media, and if businesses aren't out there, how are these businesses going to survive? I mean, there's a whole relationship piece there that has to be respected. We coexist. Compliance for us is massive. We see a huge regulatory challenges always to be adhered to. So lots of challenges to work with. So to summarise, the content, hugely important and going to be ever more important, because you need to build that presence with the customers and build that awareness with the customers and be really alive to their wants and needs and be relevant to them. Search, got to be findable. Get your above the line media right, get your paid support right, have the attribution right, that you're spending the right amount of monies on the right things. Curate your data, get your outbound strategies correct, following up and using and nurturing those leads. You've got to do it right, you've got to be you've got to be compliant with all of the various standards. Your quality has to be very high. And my recommendation is you build a team of experts and in-source it. I don't think an agency can do all that for you and get it right, because you know your own company the best, particularly the content piece. So my 18 focus in this area of lead generation, attribution modelling. It never ends. It gets ever more sophisticated. We're putting more and more into it every year, as we are around econometric modelling. GDPR is a huge feature for us. Data enrichment. If we can get more data and enrich our own data, we then don't have to ask customers for that data, and we can get our pricing even better. And we're looking at Adobe, we're looking at the content marketing suite, because what we want to do is build a better relationship and an easier mechanism for personalising the web experience. Might be on the self-service portal, what we call My Allianz. Might be on the main website in terms of quotes, when people get a quote and then they come back again and all of that. We want to make that better. We want to do personalised campaigning, and we want to tie all of that together. And Adobe have a very interesting product marketing suite that we're interested in pursuing. It's a global license that we can avail of. So those are my focuses for 18 in this space. Thank you.